Hello all, it's me again, Dr. Jennifer Grameth with W.A.Y Health and Wellness, and I am super excited today to have Dr. Michael Rankin with me to share about his business and also give some lymphatic testimonies. So welcome, Dr. Rankin. How are you today?
Hi, I'm wonderful, Jennifer. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited about this. Uh, it has become actually one of my favorite tools. So what we deal with a lot like you is just mostly chronic illness. Dad loves, dad's passion is cancer. And we deal with a lot of pain and things like that. And we see a lot of toxic people. We do a lot of laser detox in the office, and most of the people that we see have already been through the gamut of doctors, 10, 20. I've had people who have seen 50 doctors before, and I'm sure you have too.
Right.
It's interesting. Lymph is one of those things. I mean, you know me for 3 years now. I'm sure I've told you this. Like, I am really deep-hearted skeptic. I really have to see these things work over and over, not just once or twice, because that's a fluke, in my mind.
Right.
And Dad always talked to us about doing the assisted lymphatic stuff and how important it was. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm sure it is, to some extent. But of course, I had no idea really what it was until I started seeing some stuff in my office. And now it's become easily, that and the energy work we do are the two most effective things I think we do in the office, and it's great too, because you can really kind of train anyone to do this. So for practitioners out there, you can get your hands off of things and train, a qualified person to do this on someone. And just the results you'll see are truly, truly amazing. I've seen it over and over. And the funny thing is, Jennifer, when I just was opening the office, or I was getting to the end of my degree, and we had been stacking up equipment, and I knew I was getting ready to pull the trigger on this. And I said, I want to go down and take Jennifer's class, on lymphatics, because, I just want to know more about it. If I'm going to offer this in my office, I want to, be certified and know what there is to know. So, and it was so funny to me, I thought that I knew something about the lymphatic system until I came down and took your class. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank God I came down, and because there's so much to know about the movement and where all the concentrations are. And then you realize, like, God is so brilliant, the way he puts them in all the areas of movement, and, it's just so neat. So I was so glad. So when I got back from your class, of course I couldn't wait to start doing it on people. And I had opened the office, I don't know, a couple minutes later or something. And so one of the very first people, no, it was the first person. It was the first person I had in my office. I might have told you about this young lady before. She was in extreme pain like 8 years ago. She was 20 or 32, I guess. This is last year, I guess, at the time. And about 8 years ago, all of a sudden, and she's a gorgeous woman. She had this cystic acne pop up all over her face. And she didn't even have any problems when she was younger, going through puberty. It was just one of those freakish people, with like perfect skin all the time.
Right.
And then all of a sudden this popped up along with a lot of pain. So she came in and we worked on the pain and got rid of that. And then I was like, I'm thinking I could see it in her eyes, all the lymphatic congestion, and the scalloping on the sides of the tongue. And so I was, suggested we do that. And we did. And I got pictures of this, thank God, or nobody would believe it. But her acne, I mean, it's gone. Even the redness, there's some pop marks because it was cystic and it had scarred some.
Right.
But she sent me a picture about 2.5 weeks later of her out on a hike, like in the park with no makeup on. And there wasn't even the redness. I could not, she couldn't believe it either. And it's pretty much stayed like that, and I've done that, the acne stuff. Another friend of mine came in, a good looking guy, and he goes to the lengths to take care of himself, but he had this like all over acne, all covering his back,
Wow.
and it was just, it was a problem for him. So we did, I think it was 2 lymphatic therapies. And it was, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 weeks later, and it was pretty much gone. Again, even all the red like marks were gone, which I just couldn't believe.
Right. Which acne is a sign of the lymphatic system being overwhelmed, and so it's trying to push these toxins out through the skin, whether it's hormonal or
Mhm.
if it's just environmental. And
Yeah.
so I see that in
And
a lot of too.
speaking of hormonal, I've noticed that this really helps. I don't have any blood work proof or anything,
Mhm.
but I've noticed ladies' periods start to get a little better. Now we've done that doing some energy work too, but I've done that without that. I've done it with just doing the assisted lymphatic work.
Awesome.
So and you had told me when I was in the class that it could help hormones, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'm sure it helps a little, but it evidently helps quite a bit, you know.
It does, and it's the xenon gas in it that the frequency that it emits is very balancing to the hormones. But also, when your hormones are out of balance, your lymph fluid becomes very congealed and congested. And
Mhm.
that's why you kind of feel sluggish and bloated and yuck.
Really, I didn't
So when
realize the
you,
hormones would
yeah,
cause that.
yeah, the
Interesting.
hormones are one thing that really congest your lymph very quickly. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so that's great.
Oh, so that's why, Jennifer, because I do get like some ladies, for instance, ladies are easier to kind of track the hormone stuff because of their
Right.
cycles and like hair loss and things like that. I think as ladies notice that a little bit more maybe. Uh, but oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought there a little bit. But I have just over and over seen the periods regulate
Right.
in these ladies. I mean, people who haven't had periods for like 8 or 10 months.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have seen that as well. That's a big problem. And it has to do with our environment and the hormone imbalances. And that's why it's so important for us as practitioners to teach them what to eat and what not to eat, because a lot of the meat and dairy industry is what's pumping our bodies full of these synthetic hormones that really screw us up and
Yeah.
lead to lots of chronic disease, especially cancer. And I know that you and your father, y'all both see cancer patients. And, this is a therapy that boosts your immune response about 200% each time that you do it. And it works as a great adjunct to any cancer therapies that you're giving them, whether it's nutritional or ozone IV or chelation. It just makes all of that work much
Well, I
better.
mean, you see enough cancer patients to know too. I mean, one of the
Right.
major contributing factors is a toxin load. You
Right,
know, it's just
exactly.
gotten too heavy.
Right,
You
exactly.
know,
So what all do you offer at your office?
I mean, again, we focus a lot on pain. Because
Okay.
the energy work we do and the e-box, the emotional release work is significantly impactful for that. I have been dealing with a lot more hormone stuff lately,
Mhm.
just because, and
Excellent.
it was solely just because I'd be working on something else, and then we notice, hey, look, all these hormone things are correcting.
Mhm.
And again, like, I don't have any blood proof here, but hair stops falling out and cystic acne goes away, and weight loss where they weren't able to lose a pound for 10 or 20 years, all of a sudden they're
Right.
losing 10, 20 pounds in a month or two you
Mhm.
know
Right.
so I mean, and then menstrual cycles are correcting. For me, that's the thing I see, I would say, most consistently, along with the acne. Oh, and another nice little bonus that a lot of ladies have found, and I remember I called you about this because the
Uh-huh.
first time I did it, I was like, I want to make sure it wasn't a fluke before, about cellulite, you
Right.
know. And
Oh,
since
yeah.
that's so what is cellulite? It's where a bunch of toxins are collecting and stuff,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So I have had people, I mean, with really significant cellulite issues, like the back of the thigh and the buttocks area and stuff, where it always is for most people. And I tell you, like a couple ladies in particular, I've had them back on the table. And again, this is not what they were there for, but I'd be doing it, and I was like, oh my gosh. So the first time I noticed that, that's when I called you. And I was
Yeah.
like, hey, I just noticed this, and I didn't really do anything else, and she didn't change anything else. So, and you're like, oh yeah. So before I started promoting it, that it did that, I
Right.
wanted to check, but yeah. So
Yeah.
that's been very, very common too.
Yeah, that's,
It's really
and
cool.
that's not just a overweight obesity problem, because you see cellulite in very small
Oh yeah.
women. It's a toxicity problem. It's toxins that are stored in the adipose tissue. And that is your body's immune system trying to protect your vital organs. And so it stores initially these, environmental toxins in the adipose tissue. And then when that becomes too full, then it starts to get into the organs and gland, and it's a huge problem. And so, I see people with endocrine disorders as young as 2 and 3 years old, and probably would see even younger if I was able to test them, had something else to test them other than the Zyto. But I do see it at 2 and 3 years old with severe endocrine issues, and that's due to the heavy metals and the pesticides and the things in our environment, our water, our air, our food. And you're seeing more and more of these issues. Your endocrine system runs every other system of the body, and so if you are affecting the thyroid gland or the parathyroid gland or the thymus or any of these, it's going to.
Which I would spend a lot of time, always a lot of time up in the neck,
Right. And that's where a lot of people, you probably noticed, are very congested.
Yes.
Because that's your first line of defense. Everything coming in, the nose, the eyes, the mouth, the ears, you have all the cervical lymph nodes to protect you. So hopefully it will go in there and then be attacked and destroyed if your immune system's working properly. Mm-hmm. But if your lymph is already congested, it just slows down the response time for your T cells and your B cells. And that's what we are, as practitioners, are doing. We're increasing the circulation of those critical cells to fight any pathogen in the body, whether it's viral, bacterial, fungal, parasitic, or environmental. And so, it's just always give this analogy, is if think of your immune system as your army, your soldiers, and think of your lymphatic system as their transport vehicles, okay? And so if your vehicles are congested or broken down and they can't move, you can't get the soldiers to the battleground fast enough, and then the pathogen overtakes the body. So I bring this up because of the scare right now with the coronavirus, and everybody's panicking and afraid to get it. If you have a strong immune system and a decongested lymphatic system, you have no fear, because we come in contact with virus every single day, hundreds and thousands of them. And so, but the problem here in the United States is that 75% of Americans walk around pre-diabetic or diabetic and don't even know it. We have a huge chronic disease crisis. Talk about worrying about numbers, worry more about the cancer and the heart disease and the diabetes, those numbers. That's a pandemic right there.
Yeah.
And, so I think, and encouraging our patients, if you're a practitioner, to do the lymphatic therapy, to exercise, to eat right, to take, certain nutraceuticals that boost and decongest the lymph would be crucial. Now, you were telling me before we started the show about a product. I want you to tell our audience about that product that you was telling me about, the Health Tonic Plus.
Yeah, Health Tonic Plus is a great one. It was developed by a second-generation African missionary named Gordon Dacre. You can find his website is called Nature Reigns, and that's REIGNS, like the rain of God, not rain outside. So naturereigns.com. It's called Health Tonic Plus. It's a combination of a bunch of oils and herbs that God gave him. I mean, it's what he prayed for. And in Africa, since we're talking about viruses here, and to give you an idea of the antiviral properties of this stuff and how amazing it is, because we've seen it, again, I'm in need to see is believe. This guy has injected this into the IV bags of full-blown AIDS patients who were supposed to be gone literally in a few days, and instead they got up and walked out of the hospital. And our own personal experience with this, I've used it on, I had some pretty serious dental infections that were very stubborn. I was doing oil pulling several times a week, which is kind of a pain in the butt for 20 minutes, Mm-hmm. I was doing hydrogen peroxide every morning for a couple minutes while I was in the shower, and I was barely making a dent. And then all of a sudden, Dad, we had just found this product, and he said, oh, yes. He said, it's antiviral. Well, let's check it out. So within 28 days, we had scanned ourselves again, and Dad got goosebumps. He showed me. We were sitting next to each other at this conference, and they were all but two of them were gone. it was 7 or 8. And so he told me a story about it getting rid of herpes virus. So my brother has gotten cold sores since he was a child. And so I sent him a bottle and I said, listen, next time a cold sore comes up, put this stuff on there. And literally by the end of the day, it's gone. And we've done this several times now. So, and you know, if anybody out there has had a cold sore, they're usually 7 to 10 days is that cycle. And once they start, there's really not much you can do. But this stuff, I mean, I've seen it over and over again. So I would, and for $32, you know, a bottle, you know, and you can get discounts if you buy in bulk, and they're just truly wonderful stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And, you know, other things that you may want to recommend your clients to use is high dose vitamin C liposomal, you know, the Vitality C from American Nutraceuticals. I use certain homeopathics for the lymphatic system, and also
Which ones do you like, Jennifer, for that?
I have a list. There's actually, you know, the different influenzas. That's a good one. The measles, the I can send you the list, but these are the ones specifically that they're using over in China on the coronavirus and seeing, you know,
pretty good success is what I keep reading over and over. They're using a lot of high dose vitamin C. Yeah,
and then ozone therapy, you know, is something.
Yeah, we have that in the office too. I know you do too. That stuff is great. Dr. Cowden was one who, you know, said why I bought a generator for myself and then I got a bigger one for the office is it, you know, takes out all the nasty bugs but leaves all the good stuff alone.
Exactly. And so I have used ozone for years and taught it injectable IV and then sauna and then, like you said, ear insufflation. But the one thing is when you do ozone therapy, it creates so much of a die-off. You really need to follow up with the lymphatic to flush it out of the body so you don't go into a Herxheimer reaction or a healing crisis. And so, I am curious to see, you know, where this goes. I think it's going to bring great awareness to the public about the importance of building up their immune system and detoxification, because we wouldn't be this vulnerable had we have a strong functioning immune system. And Americans are vulnerable because, you know, we live in a society where we, you know, our food is void of nutrients. We're extremely toxic. It's amazing that we have survived this long.
And they're breeding the nutrients out of the food, you know, so you got to be more careful.
Exactly. All right. Well, Dr. Rankin, I thank you so much for sharing these testimonies with us. And I look forward to more video interviews with you in the future.
Yeah, me too, Jennifer. Thanks so much.
Oh, by the way, go ahead and tell us your contact information. If anyone wants
sure.
to,
if you're in the St. Louis area or Dallas, Texas, or really we work with people all over the place. But if you need in-house stuff for like pain, lymphatic, whatever, painfreelifellc.com. That's painfreelifellc.com is the website. That'll have the addresses for the Dallas and St. Louis office. And then you can reach me at 314-899-9535.
Awesome. So I encourage you all to reach out to Dr. Rankin. He's got some amazing equipment in his office, one being the Equiscope. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
That is remarkable for pain. Remarkable.
It's truly remarkable. We've never seen anything like it, you know. So it's cool.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. It was great talking to you as always.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye.